As soon as the president saw the man and bowed 90 degrees to greet him, the wife, who had just divorced him, suddenly realized that the man had never gone bankrupt and his wealth had increased hundreds of times compared to before. At that moment, the wife deeply regretted her actions. It all started 3 days ago. The man deliberately spread the news of his bankruptcy to test the sincerity of his wife and her family. When he returned home, the family that had once respected him immediately changed their attitude. His wife angrily walked up and slapped him across the face, demanding to know why he hadn't told her about the company's troubles. The man thought she was worried about him and was preparing to explain, but his wife didn't want to listen, and his brother-in-law and mother-in-law quickly stepped in to ask for the truth. But the man, realizing it wasn't the right time to speak, chose to remain silent and claimed that the news reports were true. At this, his wife's family immediately turned on him, saying they were only with him for the money. At that moment, the man finally saw his wife's true face. A relative spoke up, saying that bankrupt people often owe a lot of debt and can even ruin the whole family. The wife then seriously asked if he was bankrupt. When she received a yes, she immediately demanded a divorce. What she didn't know was that the man had his own reasons, because the company was in the process of restructuring, and after the restructuring, its value would skyrocket. Though the stock price had dropped, the truth would be revealed in 7 days. He had ordered the company's top executives to keep it a secret, but he never expected that this move would expose their true nature. 2 days later, the man received good news. The overseas acquisition had succeeded, and its value far exceeded expectations. He was overjoyed, and planned to announce the news at a banquet 5 days later. However, his wife came to him first, and realized that he hadn't gone bankrupt, and that his wealth had increased hundreds of times. Now she deeply regretted her actions. She then tried to explain that she had misunderstood him. Before the man could respond, a rich heir arrived with reporters, mocking the man, claiming he not only went bankrupt, but owed the bank billions of dollars. The wife couldn't believe her ears. Once the richest man had turned into a poor man overnight, her mother nearly fainted from the shock. At this moment, the secretary tried to explain the truth, but was slapped by the wife. The wife then severed all ties with the man, and her mother also urged her to divorce him, demanding that the man pay for her daughter's loss of youth. The man was speechless. Before he could speak, the wife declared that she had always obeyed him, and to make up for her losses, she needed $10 billion in compensation. The man was disappointed, and immediately stated that he was bankrupt, and had no money to compensate. He then ordered his bodyguards to throw the wife and her family out. Back home, the wife started worrying about her future. At that moment, the rich heir came to her, asking her to help him steal the man's $100 billion order. In return, he would give her $10 billion. The wife, hearing this, immediately became interested, thinking that since the man was now in debt, she could easily abandon him and join the rich heir. But what the wife didn't know was that the man already knew everything. However, heartbroken by his wife's actions, he allowed the president to meet her request, and said the news would be announced in 5 days. The two were happy to receive the order, while the man clenched his fists and said nothing. Seeing this, the president advised him to go home and tell the truth. When he arrived home, he heard strange noises from inside. He opened the door in disbelief, only to